We got AFC North ball, Cincinnati Bengals coming in, and we know what that means. We know the significance of this rivalry. We know where they are in their season. They got off to a slow start. They made necessary adjustments. They're marching and marching fast in a hurry. They had an opportunity to gather themselves last week with a bye. We understand and respect what that is. A team gets an opportunity to take a step back and look at themselves and maybe look at you and prepare for you. They got some new components to the equation that make preparation more difficult for us, not only in terms of their play caller, but just significant pieces to the puzzle. What's going on offense with Joe Mixon and how he's being utilized, I think, is a significant element of the equation for us. I think it's been a significant element of the equation for them. Oftentimes when you have a plethora of talent, it takes some time to sort out a division of labor. We've had similar issues at wide receiver throughout the course of the preseason and regular season. Defining the division of labor between Hill and Bernard and Mixon, I'm seeing the picture become clearer now the more games they play. Mixon appears to be a featured runner type. We got to acclimate ourselves to him and his run style and minimizing his impact on the game. Giovanni Bernard is really dominant in the passing game and on possession downs. He's been that, but it appears they're gaining some clarity in terms of division of labor there. They've had some turnover within their offensive line. I think they're finding rhythm there in terms of their rotations at the tackle position. They're playing 3-minute tackle, 2 series on, 1 series off. I think they're finding their rhythm there, and they've had some turnover and unavailability at the wideout position with Ross being somewhat unavailable and Tyler Boyd missing time. One constant is A.J. Green, and you see them, as they gain their traction in recent weeks, lean on A.J. Green. We got to work our tails off to minimize his impact on the game, but that's every time we play him. That's nothing new. It's much easier said than done. He's been a big asset to him, big play last week to kind of set the pace. The last time they played, to set the pace in that Buffalo game. We got our work cut out for us there. We got a lot of respect for Andy and what he does, his mobility, how he administers the offense. Coach Laser, their new play caller, is new to us as a play caller, so we won't have that familiarity that we usually have in terms of preparing to play them. On the defensive side of the ball, I don't think nothing much has changed. They're an elite group. They've got big-time continuity at all positions and levels of defense, whether it's up front with Dunlap and Johnson being the bell men or the bell cows up there, or Burfict at the second level, or Adam Jones and company in the secondary. They've got big-time continuity in players, core players. They've got big-time continuity within their coaching staff, from Coach Lewis on down, and I think their defensive tape bears that out. I mean, they're an elite group. I think they're number 2 in football. They're very disruptive. They got a means of getting after you with their 4-man rush. I mentioned Johnson and Dunlap, but Geno Atkins is Geno Atkins. Nothing new to report there. He's a dangerous interior rushman. They got a talented young guy to add to the fold in Lawson out of Auburn. Looked at him heavy last year in the draft, was actually down there at his pro day and had an opportunity to take him out to dinner and so forth. Quality young man, talented rusher. Not surprised by the work that he's doing for them. I think he's got 3.5 sacks in sub packages and so forth. Very good on the back end. They're capable of playing zone. They're capable of playing man. Their disguise packages are excellent. But again, when you have continuity, Sean Williams and those guys been back there for a number of years together, you have a potential for that. They got continuity in the kicking game, in coordinator and coaching and core players. We expect it to be what it's going to be. It's been that way the last several times we played them. It's going to be hotly contested. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be AFC North football. That's one of the reasons why I'm sure they moved the game to 4 whatever. We embrace that. We like the challenges of performing in front of a national audience and respect the opportunity that's given there. So we're excited about preparation. We got some work ahead of us. Got some tall challenges, but we like them. It's life in this journey. Be happy to address any questions you might have.
success running against Kansas City. Is there something schematic there that would partially explain that, or is it really a matter of execution?
It's both. You know, we're comfortable in terms of the schematic matchups and knowing what their core ball is, like I'm sure they are us as well. So there's some understanding there. There's some schematics there, but there's also a lot of execution. I'd be remiss if I didn't tip a cap to the guys up front. They did an awesome job of blocking the looks.
Mike, how do you feel about your depth at middle linebacker? Do you feel comfortable with that at Ford?
I am comfortable. Ford is one of those unique guys that's you know, third on the depth chart, but he's been here for a number of years. So I'm comfortable with his, not only his ability, but his exposure and knowledge as well. It is not, no. If need be, but I doubt that, you know, that would be an issue. Again, both guys are leaking, talking about Vince and Red, but both guys have a potential for making it. It would take both guys not making it before we got into those type of scenarios.
Mike, what was your reaction to the report about Davis press conference?
I had no reaction.
What does he express to you as far as his assessment of the role?
He hasn't. I've had good fluid communication with Martavis and throughout this process, like I have all the other players. He was a big contributor to our efforts on Sunday. He was excited like everyone else. I don't know where these reports come from. Sometimes they come from family members or people close to him. Sometimes they could come from agents. I don't judge him or my relationship with him based on things said by others. He appears to be happy and focused, and so it's a non-issue for us. Again, I'm not getting into hypotheticals. I just explained the scenario in great detail.
Now, you know, after the whole thing in Chicago, you said you welcome these kind of distractions because it hardens you guys for later in the year should you get to a big stage. Does this qualify as such, and are you still of that belief that it is continued?
I don't know that this is a legitimate distraction. You know, I mean, you guys can run with it as such. Martavis has been very open about the fact that it's a non-issue for him. We believe him, so we're moving forward. Where it's coming from, the unnamed source and things of that nature, I'll leave it to you guys to ponder and digest, but it's not a real distraction for us.
Mike, after sitting out a year, Mike, I mean, you probably figured it was going to take Martavis a while to kind of morph back into the game. Where is he relative to that in your opinion?
I don't know. I think he's doing great. You know, again, we've outlined this pretty regularly in recent weeks as I stand in here. You know, I like where he is. He's acknowledging that getting back on the train is a process. I think that the process is going well because of that acknowledgement. I think I said that a week ago. It's still all very true.
How do you assess his improvement in what he's doing in the running game, blocking?
It's been great. You know, I think week in and week out, he's just playing faster and gaining more detail in his execution. But I think it's reasonable to expect that because he's working hard.
You're looking at a young guy like Houston, outside catching the ball and blocking. What are the little things he does that make you feel really good?
You know, you're just assuming that I feel really good about him. He's working, he's getting better. He's answering the bell in terms of the task that we're giving him. We're thoughtful about the task that we give him because he's young, and he's doing an acceptable job at it.
Well, what are things that receivers can do to distinguish themselves besides just catching the ball?
You know, just play a complete game. Blocking assignments, have detail in those assignments. Be a contributor not only in the passing game but the running game, whether you have the ball or you don't have the ball. Be a complete football player first, as we like to say.
Mike, was Tudor's play the reason Martavis did not have as many snaps this past Sunday?
You know, I think both guys are over 45 snaps. You know, you guys are cutting it pretty thin there when you're distinguishing roles with both guys playing over 40 snaps. You know, sometimes it's just schematic matchups. Sometimes it's things that we're trying to do in game. I wouldn't read too much into it, to be honest with you.
Mike, did you get any clarity from the players on the free kick, what happened on it?
I didn't. We got to get under the ball. You know, that's the bottom line. You know, we can make excuses for it, but the bottom line is we got to feel the ball.
At the end of the game, when you have two essentially freshman pass rushers in Chicolo and Harrison Pittman, what's the feeling?
You know, we got confidence in their ability to rush. They were fresh, so we rolled them. We did the same thing at the end of the first half, I think, with less fanfare.
Might James Harrison get more playing time as time goes on?
I'm open to it. You know, I'm open to him being a positive contributor to our efforts. I know that he's capable. Sometimes the circumstances might be ideal. Sometimes they might not be. We'll weigh that week in and week out. But again, that's not the first time I've said that to you guys either.
And it's only been 2 games, so when you look at Bill Lazor, do you go back to what he did in Miami as well, or are there things you noticed that in these 2 games that should make a difference?
I think we got a 3-game body of work. We're looking at those last 3 games. You know, oftentimes personnel dictates approach, and so we got 3 games to look at with the personnel that he has in Cincinnati, and I think that's time well spent.
What are they doing, are they doing anything significantly different the last 3 as opposed to the first 2?
You know, I think just you see clarity in terms of the division of labor, and particularly at the running back position. You're seeing clarity in terms of how they're distributing the ball. They got some instability in some areas. Ross has missed some time. Tyler Boyd has missed some time. Tyler Eifert now is on IR. I think all of that is really kind of culminated in a real centralized focus on getting the ball to 18 as it should. Nothing groundbreaking there. I really think they're just really settling in and finding their rhythm, whether it's division of labor or how they're going to function in their present state.
Can you point to one thing or a couple things for issues in the red zone?
For us, you get down there, sometimes you execute, sometimes you don't. I think we had 2 opportunities. We converted one, we didn't on another. We'll keep rolling the ball out. I'm not discouraged by our progress. I thought Sunday was progress. We'll see where it goes.
I think Cam Hayward after that Jacksonville game is towards the effect, you don't want to be on a roller coaster, but when you are one, you have to ride the ups and downs the right way. Do you feel like your team has done that through 6 weeks so far towards it?
You know, I'm not really looking to assess globally at this juncture. Maybe I will at a bye week or so forth. Right now, I'm just trying to get ready to get this group to win versus the Bengals. And in its present state, with the present variables, injuries, health, and so forth, the challenges that they present, I'm probably more in line with that thinking. I acknowledge that there's going to be ups and downs in the journey. I think that's a given. I think any of us that are in this thing or have been in this thing for any length of time proceed with that assumption.
What's been the biggest difference in Le'Veon Bell the last couple weeks compared to maybe earlier in the season?
He's probably better equipped to answer that than I. Like we talked about at the early portions of the season, it would be an adjustment, consequences for time missed, and there were consequences, and maybe we're through them. I don't know that. I know that he's playing extremely well.
You talk about how emotional this matchup is. I'm just sure that he's truly extra emotional when you play him. Do you address him individually with the players?
No, they know who he is.
Is there any warning given or anything that you are wary of when you face him?
I don't think it's necessary. I think anybody that's played for us understands it, understands the nature of it, and those that don't will be educated by you guys.
After watching the tape, what was your view on the visual again from Alex Smith?
My view is what you guys saw. He got tripped by Chicolo, and it was unfortunate. But it's part of ball. He should have been penalized. There's strict liability there, and rightfully so. Player safety is big. But if you saw the play, that there's no malintent or egregiousness there on his part. He got tripped. But Alex doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, and in game he doesn't know that. So it's reasonable for him to have the response that he had.
Where do you think your team has shown the most growth since you kicked off the season? Is it pass defense, or where's the team developed most positively?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it, to be honest with you. I'm just really focused on the growth and not measuring it. We just got so many areas to improve in all 3 phases, and have, but need to continue to.
The pass defense, did you say faced the stiffest challenge this week against the Chiefs, and if so, how do you think it handled itself?
I wasn't ready to say that pass defense was an issue. I thought we finished the year strong a year ago in that area. I thought we had a lot of the core components back. I thought they had an opportunity to be better than they were. I didn't come into the season with a negative mentality regarding the pass defense, so I'm not surprised that they're doing well.
When you decided to put Artie Burns on Antonio during training camp, was partly in mind for big matchups like A.J. Green and all, so it's not overwhelming?
No, it was just about the growth and development of Artie as a second-year guy, and just making a point to him that, man, you got an opportunity to go against one of the best in the world on a day-to-day basis, and you better be game for the challenge. And he was, and I think he's improved because of it. I think it's helpful to him. I think it is helpful to Antonio to be challenged in that way by young talent. I just think it's good for the overall team atmosphere. I think I expressed that at that time. If it produces anything beyond that, great. But those were the intentions at the time. You know, I don't know. You know, sometimes I talk in great detail and provide great clarity. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's haphazard. Sometimes it's very thoughtful. James has been around me long enough to know that I'm capable of those things. James knows that I'm going to put the interests of this group above anything else in terms of how we prepare and who we utilize and how we utilize them. He's a competitor. He wants to be a central reason why we're successful. I know that. I also know that he's a great team player. He always has been. It's not written and talked about enough. You guys like to write and talk about workouts and things of that nature, silliness. This guy's an awesome, selfless team player. Those that are around him know about those things. So we've just been together for 11 years or so, man. Not a lot of conversations need to be had. I think we just understand those things that I mentioned about one another.
What's your approach as a coach when it's pretty clear that a player wants it, whether more snaps, more passes?
Man, I assume that all of those guys down there want that. I don't think that's earth-shattering or groundbreaking news when people want the ball or they want more playing time or they want clarity in terms of their roles. I think those are natural human conditions. So I'm surprised when they don't want those things.
How do you communicate with that player in that moment?
Again, like I mentioned, sometimes very clear and direct, sometimes not so much. Sometimes that's by design.
He's clearly in Eric Fisher's head. Have you ever seen anything like that before, where a player just kind of?
You know, those are your words, not mine. I got a lot of respect for Fisher, as does, I'm sure, James does. You know, there's elements of matchups week in and week out in the National Football League. What might appear to be a detriment might be an asset. You know, a lot is always written and said about James' stature, a lack of stature. Sometimes that's an asset to him when he's facing longer left tackles. And that's kind of been the nature of his story since I've been with him. So no groundbreaking stuff there.
How do you determine whether or not you want a corner to travel with the wide receiver?
You know, the matchup itself, the other matchup, you know, oftentimes people love to talk about the matchups of the elite corners versus the elite wideouts. A significant element of discussion oftentimes is the alternate matchup. I know I'm always excited about that when we're playing somebody and they're talking about someone matching up with Antonio. I'm always interested in, okay, who's matching up with 10 then, for example. So there's a lot of variables in the equation, and some of them have nothing to do with the two parties involved.
What adjustments have you had to make just with the spike in penalties around the league?
I really haven't made any adjustments. I like to be forward-thinking there. We bring our officials to practice and so forth. We emphasize technique and skill development. You know, we just try to be really consistent there because we acknowledge that, you know, keeping penalties relatively low helps us. And I think that's why we're not focused on it, because of that term relatively. You know, if you're penalized relative to those that you play, then you have an opportunity to have a winning edge. So we don't spend a lot of time worrying about things that are outside of our control, as long as it's fair. And we anticipate it being fair. It has been fair. Just concepts, how we want to choose to employ them, whether or not we use one tight end sets, two tight end sets, or three tight end sets affects their number of snaps. And lastly, the personnel that we're playing. You know, different teams present different challenges. Kansas City's a 3-4 team. The people that play over tight ends play out of a two-point stance, guys like Houston and D Ford. You play in the Cincinnati Bengals, the guys that play over the tight end are much bigger people, guys like Dunlap and Johnson. So each week presents different challenges. We're going to employ the people that we feel give us the best chance to win per concept or per situation or per game. So we'll continue to do that.
A couple of years back, we talked about Matt Slade being a better blocker. Is Vance a better blocker than Justin?
I think we're still getting to know Vance and his skill set. We don't have that clearly defined division of labor that we had with Matt Spaeth. You know, we drafted Matt Spaeth in '07. He had been a part of us for a number of years. We knew what he brought to the table in some situations.
Anything final for Coach? All right.
Great. Thank you, guys.